This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org here in beautiful Lisbon, Portugal, and I'm joined by my good friend Frederico here, who is actually an investigative journalist and author. Now, Frederico has been telling me about a lot of fascinating things when it comes to U.S. relations and Portugal that I never heard before regarding Kissinger, Bilderberg, Iran-Contra, and a lot of things that I find extremely fascinating. So, Frederico, you taught me a lot of interesting things that I never heard about, never knew about. What to you is the most important thing that you think is being censored and also that the American audience is not getting?
Well, actually, thank you very much for the opportunity, because I've seen your work on the internet, and it's great for you to be in Lisbon finally, because this is the place where you should have been a long time ago. There are many American histories buried in Lisbon. And as part of my job as a journalist, I've been investigating. My investigation started with the death of the Portuguese Prime Minister in 1980, Francisco Sá Carneiro, and his Minister of Defense, Adelino Amar da Costa. They both died on the crash of a small Cessna plane on December the 4th, 1980. Now, this is very important because the date of 1980 is the date where there is an alleged conspiracy in the United States. Me as a journalist, I hate conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
As a journalist, we should destroy the conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
Those who are responsible for the conspiracy theories are the journalists who don't do their work.
Yeah.
I want to do my job.
And it wouldn't be theories if you ask the right questions and we're able to vet and find out exactly what investigations, what's happening, so people don't have to make up all these, crazy, insane theories. But going along with what you're talking about, what direction, what questions, what conspiracies have you kind of unfolded?
Well, during my work as investigative journalist, I've written a book which is published here in Portugal 2 years ago. It's called Camarate. That's the name of the place where the plane crashed. That's how we know here still the case of the death of Portuguese Prime Minister. It's known as Camarate. Then his name Sá Carneiro, and the guns to Iran. Why the guns to Iran?
Iran-Contra.
Before that, Iran-Contra started, we might say, in the year when the investigations started in 1986 in the Congress, the US Congress. They set a date going back till the year of 1982, 1983. Well, that's a lie for the American public, because here in Portugal we know that the Iran business started long before that. They started in 1980.
Iran-Contra. The run gun.
No, the Tehran crisis of hostages. The Jimmy Carter trying to be re-elected on November 4th, 1980, and Ronald Reagan and George Bush being elected instead of him. Why? Because Jimmy Carter wasn't able to release the hostage before the date of the election. And we here in Portugal are now finishing an investigation in the Portuguese Parliament, which is still going on in this right moment, making questions like why Kissinger was in Portugal just a week after the elections in the United States. Why Kissinger? Is it true that Henry Kissinger came to Portugal to speak with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense about US sending guns to Iran in order for Iran not to release the hostage before the elections and have the guns to fight against Iraq? The war against Iraq and Iran started in September 1980. Allegedly, there was a meeting between George Bush and Iranian representatives on October 1980, and they decided that guns should be sent to Iran and the hostage would not be released before the elections on November the 4th, 1980. And the fact is that Jimmy Carter wasn't re-elected and the hostage were not released. Yeah. They were only released on the day of inauguration day of Ronald Reagan in 1981. What happened in between? The Portuguese Prime Minister died on a plane crash, which has been said it was a bomb inside of a plane. We are now investigating finally here in Portugal why there was this bomb. Is it possible that the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense were really investigating a secret gun deal throughout Portugal? And now that takes us back to Iran-Contras, because during the Iran-Contra we knew that Portugal was used as a third country to send guns from Israel to Iran. So we might ask, but were they business doing also before the elections in 1980? I might say it's not my conclusion, but all my investigation points out to one answer. Yes, yes. And I will show you how, even with books from United States.
Yeah. So what's the best evidence you have?
Well, for instance, let me give you, my best evidence is memory. People have to have memory and make the right questions. This is what I have as in facts. I have this book from Oliver North, okay, it's known, and in a certain point, in page 26, he says, my own operational involvement began 3 months later when on the afternoon of November 17, 1985, the phone rang in my office. The caller was General Itzhak Rabin, Israel's defense minister and the military genius behind this country. Rabin got right to the point. We have a problem, he said. And Mark Verlaine said, you could help me. He then outlined the details of an Israeli shipment of American-made Hawk missiles to Iran, which had been refused landing rights at the European airfield where it was supposed to be transferred to another plane. Oliver North doesn't say there which country it was, but in the book A Spy for All Seasons by ex-CIA chief Duane Claridge, he then says, here on page 309, sorry,
take your time.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, you should have good. He then says on the beginning of chapter 18, the Iranian episode. On November 22nd, 1985, I got an early morning call at home from Oliver North. He said, look, I've got a problem, and it involves Portugal. I needed to see you in the office as soon as possible. I'm going to need some help with the Portuguese government. Now, I'm Portuguese. I know who was the Portuguese government on those days, and I know who are they still today, and they are the same guys. They are always the same guys. I'm not going to be into details. Maybe one day I could speak to an American audience with more details and to see the enormity of this situation. But just to give you some hint, I have also here with me, and this is official, everything is official, some documents, which are the original documents made from the National Security Archives from the Iran-Contra scandal, okay? And one of the persons that these two men were talking with, his name was Manushar Ghorbanifar. He was an Iranian arm deal, and we have here on page 276 of this book an unclassified document from the CIA. It's a background report on Manushar Ghorbanifar. And on the beginning of it, we can see that he had several other names. One of them is Manuel Pereira, which is a very Portuguese name. And it is said that he speaks excellent Arabic and English. He has had a Portuguese passport in the name of Manuel Pereira, issued on October the 3rd, 1980. Now this goes into the heart of the October surprise. This goes 2 weeks before the alleged meeting with George Bush and the Iranian officers. This goes back to the Portuguese being Prime Minister investigating. And this also takes with another name, a name very famous to the United States, and here in Portugal also, Frank Carlucci. Frank Carlucci was the American ambassador to Portugal from 1975, which is after the Portuguese Revolution, Democratic Revolution that ended the dictatorship, and he was here till 1977. And he went directly from the office in Lisbon to the office in Langley. He became deputy director of CIA. Right there, right on the spot. And while he was here in Portugal, everybody was saying that he was CIA. I also have in my book, that was given to me by a person which is the nephew of Frank Sturgis. Frank Sturgis was one of the Watergate burglars. He was here in Lisbon in 1977. Why? Because he was working against the communists in Africa with the help of Cubans from Miami to fight the Cubans that were helping the Angolan government in old Portuguese Africa.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but Cuba, an anti-Cuban rebels were fighting in Angola, out of all places, and this history is really, really missed. But this Frank Sturgis nephew, what did he give you? What information did he provide you?
Jim Hunt, that's his name, he lives in Ohio. He gave me some writings from his uncle's diary that were written in 1977 at the Ritz Hotel in Lisbon. I have these writings here. You maybe, I don't know if you can shot them, but then you probably, I will send them to you for you to see. And in one of them, he talks about a conversation he has with an Angolan person, and this is 1977, and he said, I asked Victor if any CIA agent debriefed him. He said, Frank Carlucci at the American Embassy. Now this puts us an ambassador, American ambassador, being as a CIA agent about 6 months before he really became a deputy director of CIA. Now, Carlucci was in CIA in 1980. And he didn't like it. This is public here in Portugal. He wasn't very friendly with the Portuguese Prime Minister Francisco Sá Carneiro. He preferred, which is a good friend of his, and he recently came to Portugal 3 years ago. He even met with him. His name is Mário Soares. He was a former socialist leader, and he became president of the Republic in 1986. So these names are very, I must say, they are still today giving influence to the general policy and the international policy that has been made in Portugal, the Middle East, and the United States.
Wow.
And this story is buried here in Lisbon, waiting for you American journalists to find that out. We are still investigating many of these facts in the Portuguese Parliament. I will keep you informed now that we know personally. I will do my best to keep you and your audience informed about what's going on.
Your link will be in the description below, how people could contact you, and definitely next time I have a rendezvous with Mr. Kissinger, I think it'll be interesting to ask him what he was doing here. But just to wrap everything up, obviously CIA had their hands here in Portugal, and they were using it to ship arms through Israel, through Iran. They were funding both sides of that war. It looked like the government here, the Prime Minister, was investigating. His flight came down, and him and his staff died. Which is another big mystery, and they're still all investigating this right now here in the Portuguese government. And you are one of the researchers who are also giving testimony.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, as a result of my book, I went to the Portuguese Parliament and I stayed there for 3 hours giving a testimony. It's on YouTube, but unfortunately it's in Portuguese, so it's not available for everybody to see. But if we have the time, one of these days, maybe I can ask somebody to put some subtitles on it, or like I said, I think the American public in general should know what's going on here in Portugal. I invite more journalists to come here, or even if it's able, I would like to go one of day in New York and do a public speaking with all that we know here in Portugal about the American secrets here that are buried here in Lisbon.
Lots of American secrets. I'm happy there's investigative journalists like yourself who are actually investigating it and getting it out there. Frederico, we will have all the links in the description below. Thank you so much for your hard work and putting the dots together. Is there anything else you want to leave us with?
I just want to say that I'm available to answer to all the questions, to everybody, to give all the doubts. And once more, thank you very much for you to be the first pioneer here in Portugal and the discoverer of this new world.
It's definitely a new world, lots of secrets, lots of mystery. We're reporting for you here in Portugal and all over Europe. Thank you again so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this program. If you do, click like and subscribe. We're going to have a lot more videos coming to you again. And don't forget to check out Frederico and his book and his excellent information that he's been providing to you here. I'm over and out.